You chair the medical advisory board for Americans for IVF. What's the mission of Americans for IVF?
Well, so Americans for IVF is an organization committed to expanding fertility access for everybody in the United States. We think that everybody, I don't care what your circumstances are, I don't care what your gender is, your sexual preference, your occupation, your religion, none of that matters. Our attitude is that every person in the United States that wants to pursue a family should be allowed to do that. And our mission is to make that happen. And so we work with Congress and we're drafting legislation to give the president more options. The president at the moment has two basic courses of action that he can pursue to achieve his goal of expanding access for IVF and lowering the cost through what's called executive action or executive orders. So the president dictates healthcare for veterans, for active duty military, for all federal employees. And with the stroke of a pen, for example, he could say, look, we're going to make infertility care what's called an essential health benefit. And we're going to include this benefit in the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. One of the things the president campaigned on was improving Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. And one thing he can easily do to achieve that is to make infertility an essential health benefit, because by definition, that will automatically make the Affordable Care Act better. But another avenue the president can take is the legislative avenue. And so we are drafting legislation now. We have 3 co-sponsors already, 2 in the House. We have Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's a Democrat from Florida. We have Zach Nunn, who is a Republican from Iowa. And on the Senate side, we have Cory Booker, who's a senator from New Jersey. And we're hoping to get Roger Marshall, who is an OB-GYN and also a senator from Kansas. So we're hoping to have those 4 co-sponsors. So we are drafting the legislation called the Hope with Fertility Services Act in order to try and expand access to fertility care for anybody in the United States who wants it.
How long do you think it's going to take for that to be a reality?
A long time. The more you work in Washington, the more that you know that nothing happens quickly. Biggest force there is in Washington is inertia. And the more radical the change, the more severe the change, the longer sometimes it takes. Now, something we've seen recently is that's been stood on its head. Sometimes the more significant the change or the greater departure from the status quo, sometimes that gets accelerated and things happen quickly. I hope that will happen with what we're trying to accomplish, because God knows we're decades behind in getting people in the United States the care that they need so they can have family.